What's up, my people? It's your boy Hallie back again. Monster Gang representing Detroit in the building. You know how we do all day and all night. Knocking you in the head with them opinions and that knowledge and the facts and everything else that I be doing. Look, man, we talking about the difference with the old music and the new music. Look, I'm not mad. I get it. A lot of old school cats is mad at what the new school guys are doing. A lot of the new school guys are saying that the old school guys are boring and didn't have it. Here's one thing that I will talk about is the cadence. Back in the 80s and the 90s and even in the early 2000s, most guys who rap, they had the same cadence through the whole song. So if you was doing something, you like, yo, this is the type of style that I use and I'm going to keep going and keep going and keep going. There was no difference in the cadence. These young guys today have perfected cadence. I can't get mad at them for that. These guys have perfected the cadence of the songs. You can see that they can go from low to high, and you may say the engineer does that or the producer or whoever, and you may be right, but what we have to understand is that these guys spend countless hours in the studio trying to perfect the cadence of a song. That's one thing that is different. In the old school times, which is where I grew up in, we had one cadence. When you listen to a DMX, a Tupac, a Biggie, certain people, nobody really pushed that envelope of different cadences. You know, through the whole 16 bars, it would all be the same. Then you would have guys like Bone Thugs and Harmony or Mystical or different people who do or die, guys who would push that envelope and go up and down. But for the most part, that was thinking outside the box back in the 90s. So in this day and age, you have to look at the cadence and how much time and the specifics that these engineers put into making that cadence sound the best that it can be to these new beats. Now, I will say this about the production. Back in the day, you know, we sampled a lot of things and we had a lot of great production. You know, you got the Dr. Dre's, the DJ Quicks, the different guys, the DJ Uniques, different people, the Tone Capones, people who really perfected that craft. But when you look at the people now, there's a lot of more layers and samples and waves that you can just drop into your digital audio workstation and you on and popping. But I will say you have to really recognize the low bass that we have now. You have to recognize the tone and all the different things that's happening within these new songs. These producers are out of this world. They are outer space with the music that they are making. I can't hate on the producers. I can't hate on the producers. I know people are like, man, in the 90s was the time, and the 80s was the time, 2000s was the time. And I'm not saying that I disagree with you, but what I'm saying is we have to respect every era. What I will say is this: the 3 to 5 minute songs that we had back in the day with the 3 verses and the hook, verse, hook, verse, hook, verse, that's how we did it. The young guys in this day and age is ADHD rap. They're on TikTok making 30 seconds of a song and it's talking about 100 different things in that 30 seconds. And the children, that's what they are drawn to today. They are drawn to talking about 100 different things. And the song, the actual song, if you went on Spotify or iTunes or something like that, it would only be like 2 minutes and 10 seconds because we don't have the same attention span that we had 20 years back. So I understand that we can get in the car right now and bump all the old school we want. But a lot of the younger people, they're looking for that cadence. They're looking for that new style of beat. And they're looking for that song that's only going to be about 2 minutes, maybe 2.5 minutes tops. And that's a lot of kids are consuming music through social media. So they're getting 15-second clips or 30-second clips of music now. And another thing that we have to talk about is back in the day, people cared more about your music and less about your life. Now that we live in a time of influencers, people care more about you and less about your music. So the music accompanies who you are as a person. So most people want to like you before they like anything that you have going on. Back in the day, people liked your music and didn't really care what you had going on because we didn't have social media. Tupac was one of the first pioneers of people who seemed like they lived a social media life, where you were seeing the court cases and the fights and spitting in the camera and wearing certain outfits and doing certain outlandish things that just you saw his influence. And before that, most guys, it was about their music. And now we live in a time where it's more about the influencer. So the influencer comes first and the music comes second. But once people love you, you can do whatever you want. Once people love you, you can bring out commercials for Charmin or whatever you want to do. Look at people like Lil Baby can do Axe commercials now. It's not considered selling out anymore. There's more of a business mind in the new day. People can bring out music themselves now. People don't have the big teams of a Kendrick Lamar or a J. Cole or a CardiB, but most people are starting to realize that we don't have to go to the big labels to produce music. Now, back in the day, you had to go to the $1 million studios to get certain sounds. Now we live in a digital age where you can pay $800 to $1,000 for a digital audio workstation, get you a nice microphone, and you just record and lay your vocals. This is a completely different time. So I respect every era, but I have to respect the era of today because I'm living. Now, if you ask me, what do I think is better? Do I think the old school or the new school is better? To me, I think that there's things that the old school did better and there's things that the new school does better. I respect the era and the time of what's going on. I do believe that rap has, like back in the day, we had a message of sell drugs, don't do drugs. Today, I feel like they have more of a message of do drugs while you're selling drugs. I could be wrong. You could say that I'm wrong. And I feel that if we're talking about us as a community, I think we all kind of fail the community because they don't bring out the conscious rap. They don't bring out the uplifting rap. They bring out the people who are talking about killing each other. And we've been doing this for 20, 30 years now. We talk about how you're broke and how I got money. We talk about how I slept with your baby mama. We talk about how I got all of the guns and I'll do this to you if you step on my shoe. And I know that I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but I'm just saying as far as this music, old school and new school, that's one thing that they do have in common. Once the 90s started to usher in, it was more about reality. It was less about Public Enemy and Boogie Down Productions where they were fighting the power and talking about the powers that be. We started going at each other. We started living this block life. We started going to jail. We started telling these stories of how we didn't have anything to eat, the war on poverty, the war on drugs. So what I will say is, there's always been a medium within rap, whether it's old school or new school, once it got around the 90s. In the 80s, it was like, yo, you bet not be drinking that juice. Like, they didn't drink beer and liquor. They didn't smoke weed, and they would tell you, like, you know, don't do that kind of stuff. It'd be having your mind messed up. That was more of the come together and the dancing era and the happy era of music, the conscious era. And once we got to the 90s, it switched. It changed to the murder and the drugs and all of the things that kind of shocked your brain. And now what you see today is just more of an evolution of what happened back then. When you see these young guys, one thing I will say is different, that every week you see someone dying. Every week you see a XXX or a Pop Smoke or a Juice World or a Mac Miller or Rock, whoever it is, Nipsey, all these guys, they're dying. And I think that's the biggest difference is back in the day, and I think it was Muddy Waters who, or it was Leonard Chess who talked about Muddy Waters sings the blues, but he don't live it. And Lil Walter lives the blues. So a lot of us now, we are living the music. It's not just entertainment anymore. Now we're talking about our ops and we're talking about the things that we did last week and we're bringing the beef. So a lot of these guys, in their mind, this is their reality. So I think that times have shifted to a point where the new school guys, like back in the day, we would talk about if you came up to me and threatened my life, what I would do. Now the young guys are saying, come up to me and threaten my life and see what I'll do. So a lot of the respect for rap has gone out the window. A lot of the storytelling and the different things that made rap what it is gone now. We moved in a period of ADHD rap and clout rap and SoundCloud rap, and you got people who living in places where you never think they would be gangster, and they're talking about blowing your head off. So I do think that there's a space for everything that we doing, but at the end of the day, I do believe that it's deteriorating our minds because we're not thinking about uplifting anymore. We're always thinking about, the next dollar. And, women have taken over too. That's one thing that didn't happen back in the day. You had your women who were a part of the game, but now people are leaning more towards the women because of the hypersexuality. Now, don't get me wrong. There are women who can hold their own with men on any day, but that's not what's being focused on. What's being focused on is their lips, hips, thighs, eyes, and what's between their legs. So I think this has been the time for the woman, but it's based on that influencer thing I was talking about earlier. It's more about the influence that you have. Kim Kardashian could come out with a double disc right now and it would go diamond. And everybody knows she probably can't even rap. But it's about the influence that you have in this day and age. This is just another me on a rant talking about the differences between old school and new school rap. It's your boy Hallie. You know I'll be back. I ain't going nowhere. I'm right back like I left something. Monster Gang in the building. Detroit City representative. Day that die. East side. You know how we do. Monster Gang, Hallie.